For this next video, we're going to look at crop insurance, government crop insurance, as a way to manage and mitigate downside risk. This was the picture that we saw from our risk profile for the Madison County farm where we left off our last video, and you can see that there's a lot of red and big negative red numbers on this screen. We believe and understand that crop insurance will help mitigate that significantly, and we're going to show you how to go about doing that. Before we start, it's important to understand that crop insurance is heavily subsidized by the U.S. government, and farmers end up paying roughly half of the premium depending on the policy. As a result, they have a house edge over time, maybe not in any individual year, but over time, the farmers should come out ahead by buying crop insurance and buying it at higher levels. So there's really an incentive to do so, and it really does provide a substantial amount of downside protection. So what we're going to do is go to the dashboard, and for our purposes, we're going to go into crop insurance, and we're going to now select. Let's assume that we select a revenue protection policy, a farm-based RP policy. Let's assume we're going to pick the 85% level. We'll see what that does to our risk profile. There's high prices this year. The crops has a substantial amount of value. And you'll also note that as of today, discovered price is $591. That's our benchmark price for insurance, and the current price is $558. So we're already somewhat in the money as it relates to crop insurance, which also would encourage us to probably buy more. So we'll do the same for soybeans, farm-based revenue protection at the 85% level. We'll update that. And as I mentioned before, full season beans and DC beans must follow the same policy. We have set that up in the program here such that when you put inputs into this, it automatically shows up over there in the DC beans. So we've just insured our corn and all of our bean crop at an 85% farm revenue protection policy. We're going to now go back to the dashboard. We're going to look at the detailed budget. We now know, in having purchased our crop insurance, we were only paying $6,000 before. Now we're paying $73,000. So we've had a step up in costs associated with that crop insurance premium, which have a proportionate resulting decline in our base case pre-tax cash flow. So we have that incremental expense. You can see here the cost per acre for each of those, 44 for corn, 24 for full season beans, 33 for DC beans. We'll go back to the dashboard, and now we're going to look at the sensitivity tables and see what that crop insurance bought us in terms of managing risk. And what you'll see is a substantial amount of those negative red numbers will have gone away and been materially reduced by virtue of the fact that we bought this government crop insurance at relatively high levels. We'll probably not solve all of our risk management issues, but it will go a long way to mitigating catastrophic risk. And you can see that here. Recall that a lot of this was in very deep negative red. Now we're seeing green numbers pretty much throughout. By hitting the differences here, we can see what that purchasing that did to our overall profit picture. We paid $68,000 more for crop insurance to insure our corn and our beans, and you can see where that crop insurance kicks in and how it starts to pay indemnities and recoups that cost. And again, going back to this picture is a lot nicer than the picture we saw previously. We do have a couple of areas of exposure that are still pretty significant. We have downside price risk here. If we look at our $262,000 of cash flow, that'll drop to 161,000 with just a 10% reduction in price. We also have some nearby risk here where a 10% reduction in yield still pretty materially reduces our profitability and even can go into the negative range if prices stay constant. We're going to, in the next video, address ways to mitigate this through grain marketing, and then we're going to do a more advanced version discussion around crop insurance in the subsequent video to try to solve those two problems. But for now, we like this picture considerably better than what we saw in the prior iteration.